Well, hello my friends. Today is going to be an exciting turning, for sure. I'm going to see if I can come remotely close. Well, not close, because my style is not the same as his style. But this friend of mine's, Gilbert, I forgot his last name, I'll make sure that I put it down here, who posts a lot of his stuff on Facebook. He does the most unique and fascinating pieces all out of root balls. Now, I say fascinating, they are amazing. And I know that his stuff is not strictly lathe. He does some on the lathe and then painstakingly does a lot of carving on his pieces, and he makes these beautiful, beautiful stuff. He actually gives me credit for his style. So he says, it's like, I don't know where you get that from. You do amazing stuff, and I don't see the resemblance, because it doesn't resemble me. Or at least he says he was motivated by my style. Anyway, fantastic work. You gotta see some of his work. I might even post some pictures of his work up here onto the side. I'll just take a couple of pictures from Facebook just to see you, show you the amazing work. It's too bad he doesn't have a YouTube channel. Once in a while he'll do a little clip and a teaser and put it on Facebook where he starts off his massive lathe. It's primitive, but it can handle big stuff. Not these wimpy lathes like what I got, for sure. Anyway, I had a bush planted in fairly close to the house, and it never did well. It's been planted there for about 12 years, and it always looked sickly. And the leaf looks very much like an olive wood. As a matter of fact, I was calling it olive wood because I know what olive trees look like. It has that hazy, grayish green leaf, same shape. So I called it that. Anyway, she chopped it down a couple of months ago to the top to see if it would grow, and it just would not do anything. So anyway, we dug it up. I wanted to save the root ball. When I say root ball, I literally mean a root ball. I just trimmed some of these longer branches that were coming out of here, roots that were coming out of this with a sawzall, just to be able to manage to get it onto my lathe. I have no idea. I know that this guy Gilbert would do amazing stuff with this, because he would leave all of these branches coming out for sure, and he would detail them all out with his grinder, whatever he uses for his turning. Well, I don't do a lot of that. I do the turning, and I see what I can maintain out of the piece or not. Now, cutting it, it's like, oh my God, the color and the density on this wood is unbelievable. You don't even see growth rings on this. It's just a solid mass, very heavy wood that should give me, at the very least, not with all of this going this far out, but a beautiful looking vase, I hope. I hope. This will be the base, this will be the top, and a lot of this is going to come out because it's done on a lathe. It's not going to have different sizes. Let's see what comes out of this crazy, crazy looking thing. It might come down all the way up to these inner parts over here. I don't know. It's going to develop as the tool is approaching it. As usual, I don't change my system of how I mount things up unless I really needed to. Until today, I really don't think I have seen the need to go any other route other than starting it off with a spur drive and just go between centers. And the spur drive I use is this 4-spade, which does a good job locking it up. Now, I know I'm going to get rid of quite a bit of this. I know some of these branches are going to go. You know, this will probably end up coming up all the way to these lower branches, so the bottom. Oh, let me get you in there with a back camera. So when I start throwing this up, the bottom of the flare out will hit some of these flare outs that are going out through here. This will disappear, of course, because it's hanging low, and I'll be shooting it up and coming up to here till I get something that's somewhat uniform. This will most likely disappear, this branch, and it will taper up, starting with this one, and of course this one. Okay, so I'm pretty much at the center, and the first thing I want to do is create a tendon over here from the back side. Probably should have had this reversed. I'm going to reverse this, put this on my live center so I can work it from this side to create the tendon and then flip it over. Speed 400 RPM to start off with. Actually, that's 600 RPM. Now, in here, I see a shadow of the innermost part of this. And looking at that, I actually see the shape that it wants to be. So I can see that it concaves in. It has a concave in, and I can see that as a nice shape of a piece going from here on up. And it will be fairly thin right about here. But the rest of it starts flaring back up, and I think that that will be a good look on this piece. Now, it's bouncy quite a bit because I really threw off the center on this to gain more on, on this part here. But I believe as soon as I start hitting some of this, it will balance out a little bit. still have a ways to go. I have about 3/4 of an inch on the thickness to go into before I start hitting this point right here and this lowest point over here. So, because I can see it, it's fairly thin over here, but going to be workable. Love the color on this. Okay, so you can see that this branch is about to be hit. The next one will be this one before I can get out to this one. I might catch some of this one, which I thought I wouldn't, but if I do that, this one will be completely gone, and this one I think is needed for balance of the piece. Go carefully before going. We know that this one is going to go no matter what, because I'm getting there. But this one, I might leave what's up at the top edge of it to work with the piece. This is going to be some pretty color and some beautiful, beautiful wood grain on this piece. Curling it up to catch up with these tips and make an OG of some sort a little bit. I still need to, this area right here is going to be troublesome. because I might not be able to save that, and that's a real bummer. I want to get rid of this non-bark over here. It has a little bit of a bump over here. I got room for that. Okay, I like that. Catching this, catching these four. This side, well, it's a little bit off balance, but you can't add pieces to the wood that don't exist. So I'm happy with the way it's looking. I think it's time to turn it around and start doing some work from the opposite side, so I can see exactly what's going to happen. Whoops. Once I start concating that. Okay, time to start going in here and getting some of this out and see. I mean, I see what we have left over. It might not be exactly as I envisioned. I might end up taking some of these wings way down to balance off this piece that's offset. So we'll see. Sure, man. And I think that looks pretty darn good. Time to apply some Yorkshire grit, and the finish will be OP shine juice. Well, one thing left to do, and that is to take the base. So it's like anything else. You figure out what you got in your arsenal that you can use to mount it up. And whatever method you got that works for you, then that's the methods to go with. I look for ways that I can do it and see if I can cushion it up without hitting metal or anything like that. And if that, on this particular case, it works. If it didn't work, I would look into a roll of tape. I would look into something else that I could put on my headstock that would cushion it for me. So again, like before, like I've said many times, you have the center mark over here. Don't need a lot of pressure, just enough to really get in there. And this will always center itself pretty well on something like this. When you do get close to the bottom, slow it down, because all you need to do is cut it and hold your skew in place once it separates. Or shut it off just before that last cut. I got about 1/4 of an inch, if that, on the base of this. It's end grain, so it's a little tough. And the rest is sanding. You sand any lines that you have that you're not happy with. Well, not too bad in timing. Probably about a total of 3.5 hours working on this one piece. The top is all uniform because I took off all the jagged wings that were going through here. It was kind of offset. So maintained it where I thought would show the best character that it had to offer. Going through here, some of these are natural still, that was the ends of them, but some of these were really long, so it didn't feel right. Kept the base natural, and it of course has a lot going through it with these veins. Don't forget, this was strictly a root system. A root that was in the ground. From here on down was in the ground, from here on up was the stump of the tree. I've done a few like this. The wood grain on this is really amazing. I believe it to be a sort of olive wood. I planted this tree a few years ago, 14 years ago, but it never really did well. It was always staggered, just a couple of branches, always wimpy type of thing, and it was in a bad place. So we took it down because it has another tree next to it. That was probably the reason why this one never thrived, is because of what was next to it. Probably drained this one all the time. The wood is extremely dense. So dense that you can't define the growth rings on this. It's really tight. I'm sure that it's 14 years old minus whatever it had when I planted it, which was like this. So I think it's a worthy piece. Inside, outside, the finish is really nice. And like I said, the wood grain is really what it has. The colors are amazing. Well, thanks for watching. That's this week's turning. Next week will be something else. Guaranteed. I got a lot of wood that keeps calling out my name, and it's a toss-up on which one do I tackle. So my wife was like, "Hey Albert, don't you want to do that root?" It's like, after all, she had a lot of work digging it up. I only helped very little with this. So cut it up, and here it is. And I got some remnants, a little bit left over from it. A little bit left over from it. It will still make a couple of nice things. Boxes, not necessarily that I'm going to record, but a couple of boxes and some toys, kids' toys, which I don't do much of. So, but that will be for another time. Next week will probably be the Cuban mahogany that's starting to get over here on the lathe. Thanks again. See you on the next turn. And don't forget to thumbs up, like, and subscribe. Subscribe so you can see what I get notification of what I'm going to be doing next time. Take it easy.